How has he managed to navigate him? And what advice do you give him to try to be, is it possible for him to be a normal student?
I don't think it's possible for him to be a normal student. His experience at college, it's very different than any other kid. And I'm very proud how he's handling. He's very strong, and he knows that he's in different position than other children. And I just say, make your dreams come true. This is your road. This is your life.
While people across the country and around the world are now openly waiting for someone to die, the Trump legacy seems insistent on outliving Donald. No one's asking for this apart from a few remaining sycophants and bootlickers, but Trump's progeny is proving to be a willful and entitled bunch. And speaking of entitled, Barron Trump, Trump's youngest son with Melania, can't even drink legally, but he's already getting aboard the grift train. He's got a product that he's pushing, and as I'm sure you can tell from this setup, it's upsetting quite a few people already. There are allegations of cultural appropriation with this particular product, but also, seeing as he is a Trump, there is a healthy dose of hypocrisy. Barron is promoting a yerba mate drink called Soyos. It hasn't been launched yet, but it does have an Instagram page, and as of me recording this, the page has less than 5,000 followers, just 4 posts, and all of the comments on the posts are either critical of the product or they look like bots. So the obvious grift here is that the Trumps, who have practically become synonymous with the demonization of minority groups, most especially people from Latin America, are now attempting to profit off of an herb or a drink that comes from Latin America. They hate the people, but they love the culture so much that they want to make money off of it. It falls in line with all of the arguments as to why people do not like cultural appropriation, which is, frankly, not something that a lot of Americans even seem to understand, at least not in my own personal lived experience. And this is why I gatekeep. I gatekeep as a rule. I'm married to a white man, and even he needs to earn access to certain things. Not everything is for everyone, and Americans, as a people, are not cool. We're not cool about literally anything. Any and everything from someone else's entire culture is subject to being turned into a passing trend, marketed into oblivion, profited off of, usually by someone from outside of the culture it comes from, and then discarded, but only after the demand and price of that thing have shot up so high that the people of that original culture no longer have access to it. Ultimately, it's akin to erasure. The result of phenomena like this is often that something that has spent years, decades, centuries developing slowly in relative isolation, which is how and where real culture is even able to develop and thrive, a quick burst into the spotlight becomes unsustainable. It was never meant to scale in a way that capitalism often demands. And Americans, for better or for worse, often for worse, are the ultimate capitalists. They can never learn about something and adopt it without going all in on it in a way that no one reasonably should be consuming it, whatever it is. For instance, right now, there's a lot of drama over 2 white American women capitalizing off of mahjong, which has become very popular lately among white American women. It's a trend now. It's no longer a way of life. It hasn't become revered and celebrated or adopted into this culture. It's just a fad that someone from outside of the parent culture will now capitalize on and then inevitably diminish. There was a trend on TikTok where white women were oiling their hair the same way that Indian women do. But then there was backlash because they decided that the oil was too heavy and too greasy, not just for them, but just in general. Of course, obviously, it was because our hair is different. Indian people put oil in our hair because our hair is thick and coarse. It makes sense for us to do that. I don't have the same hair care routine as my blonde best friend. That would make no sense. But in a more significant way, yoga and yogic Ayurvedic culture has been widely appropriated in the United States, with many yoga-related brands being run by people from outside of the parent culture. Yoga itself is so much more than a workout, it's so much more than stretching, it's a whole lifestyle that's rooted in actual spirituality, but that is not so easily marketed or consumed. In order to market something, you inevitably have to simplify it and dumb it down, and that means killing the thing that makes it special, especially if you want to reach a very wide audience. Now you have yoga retreats in India being run by Americans or Europeans that actually deny access to Indian people. You have ancient sacred symbols on merchandising, and you have t-shirts that say "Namaste in bed." When you have things like Americans framing St. Patrick's Day as just a day to get stupid drunk because we have diminished all of Irish culture to nothing more than drunkenness and the color green. I'm obviously not Irish, but that has never felt right to me. And Black culture, I don't even know how they tolerate how often their culture is taken from them by people who don't even like them. And when it comes to food appropriation, people are particularly prickly. This is why I will never clown on an Italian who freaks out whenever someone breaks their spaghetti in half. Food is culture. Eating someone's food that they took time to prepare for you with their hands, is a deeply personal thing. You're literally consuming their culture. The ingredients represent the land that they came from. The diet supports their bodies and their lifestyles. And in diasporic communities, it is a little bit of a home that for whatever reason they had to leave behind. When Americans appropriate a food culture, it is inherently stripped and immediately exploited. We exploited avocados to the point that we created a water crisis in Mexico and destroyed local communities and economies. We can't be cool about anything. The United States, apart from pockets of culture throughout the country, like for example in the South, it doesn't really have much of an overall or defining food culture that people can point to. When asked, most people just say hamburgers and hot dogs. In my opinion, the real food culture that we have here is capitalism. Everything has to be fast and easily mass-produced. It doesn't matter what's in or out of season because we just import and ship unripened produce from elsewhere. We eat everything on the go because we have to hurry up and get back to work. Things are convenient, but they're not really good. Convenience shouldn't be part of food culture. And when Americans borrow from other countries and cultures, they naturally want to make things more convenient. Americans want fast and easily accessible, but the truth is, none of these things in their highest, truest forms are easily accessible or fast. Nothing worth having is fast or easily accessible, and you can never appreciate something that is fast or easily accessible. If you want tamales on Christmas Day, you better grind the masa and soak the husks the night before. If you want kimchi, you need to do a lot of prep work and then you have to wait for a very long time. These recipes are not easy, they're not fast, they're not meant to be. They're multi-step, sometimes multi-day processes, but the thing that really makes them special is that they are multi-people. You do these things in the kitchen with your family. These are your traditions, they're your events. Everyone, and I mean everyone, has a job to do. Because there's so much work, you can't do them every day. They're special occasion foods. They create scarcity. And at the end of all of that work, you get to enjoy something with your family that you all contributed to. It is slow and it's deliberate, and slow is not good for capital. All of this to say, you can still partake in things. I drink matcha, I drink mate, I drink chai, my own recipe of course. No one's saying that you can't play mahjong if you're not Chinese, but a little respect for the culture can really go a long way. Conscious sourcing and consumption of something can go a very long way. And in the days of social media where virality is rewarded, where everyone is desperate for the newest, latest thing, people are tired of having their cultures exploited and diminished. And when the outcome is that Donald Trump's son makes money off of a people that he and his family have oppressed and demonized and harassed, it is all the more intolerable. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.